Yo, Shortbox Nation, this is Botter, and I'm here to tell you right now that con season starts early this year with the return of Northeast Florida's premier anime, comic book, and sci-fi event, Collective Con. That's right, Northeast Florida's largest pop culture convention returns for its 10th year on March 8th through the 10th at the Prime Osborne Center in Jacksonville, Florida. 10 years of Collective Con, they're pulling all the stops out to make sure this is a can't-miss event. And the guest list they got going, don't even get me started on the guest list. I mean, they've got A-list celebrity guests and voice actors from some of your favorite movies, anime, and video games like Elijah Wood and Sean Ashton, Ray Park, Trisha Helfer, Ross Marquand, Max Middleman, and Bo-Katan herself will be there, Katie Sackhoff. Tell me what other convention is giving you the opportunity to meet Frodo and Sam from Lord of the Rings, Darth Maul, and One Punch Man all under the same roof. Only at Collective Con. And if you're looking to get some of your favorite comics signed, or if you want to get an original sketch from some of the best comic artists in the world, well, you're in luck, because there'll be plenty of comic and creator guests there, like DC comic artist extraordinaire Clay Mann, Harvey Award-nominated illustrator John Taylor Christopher, Marvel and DC cover artist Chris Stevens, and acclaimed Star Wars author Timothy Zahn. They'll all be at Collective Con this year. And if you're looking to bring the family, or if you want to make a weekend out of it, you're in luck, because there'll be so much going on at Collective Con that weekend in the form of vendors, fan panels, video game tournaments, cosplay contests, after parties, and a bunch of fan events. You can purchase single and 3-day weekend passes now using the link in this episode's show notes, or by going to collectivecon.com to book your tickets and hotel. Buy your tickets now, and I'll see you at Collective Con, March 8th through the 10th. Now let's start the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Short Box Podcast.
The Short Box Podcast is recorded live from Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay, how about we start with, while I get all settled, let's talk about the trailers and the previews for the upcoming movies. According to my count, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 9 trailers. He's a
9 trailers?
Yeah, we got 9 trailers. I think when we watched Black Panther, we had like, I remember saying 11 or 13. I remember being a lot.
Damn.
So let me give you the recap for the trailers we got in our viewing. Mission Impossible, Hunger Games. It was a long ass title, The Ballad of Snake Wind and something like that. But we got a Hunger Games trailer, Gran Turismo, Dune 2, Oppenheimer. We got a trailer for Transformers: Rise of the Beast, Little Mermaid, Indiana Jones, and the Marvels.
Jeez.
Yeah, we got a lot of trailers.
Yeesh.
We got a lot.
Gran Turismo sounds like looks the most fun besides Oppenheimer.
Gran Turismo? Is that really how you pronounce it?
No, that's how I say it.
Okay.
I like tiramisu cake, so that's my thing. Gran Tiramisu.
I feel like a sports themed bar that specializes in race cars should have that. That should
race
be like
cars and cakes,
the
race
Turismo.
cakes. We'll call them race cakes.
Yeah, we're giving out free game. Stop, Drew.
That trailer, I was like sold. I was like, wait, this is PlayStation?
And it says it's based on a true story, so I imagine maybe the true story part is that the company once held, I guess, a competition to allow really good video game players to actually become race car drivers. I imagine that would be the true
Are you
story,
going to look
right?
up to see how it ends, or just wait for the movie and see how they interpret it?
Another video game to movie adaptation or to show
It looks good,
adaptation.
though. To Drew's point, it did look a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It looked a lot of... I feel like David Harbour has now kind of become... Is he kind of getting a little gimmick? Does he have a gimmick now?
I don't know.
Like just funny, burly guy? You know, like with the one-liners?
Just like shot out, like just tired all the time.
He is that's just his natural look. Is he has the best under eye bags in Hollywood. He always looks tired. Life, what about you? What was the trailer that got you most hyped?
I think Mission Impossible for sure.
Hell yeah!
Part one.
Part one
Part
is
one.
ridiculous.
One of whatever this.
They gave us a whole movie and they're like, part one.
But I think for so many things that we see, it's very clearly like they shot it on a stage or in front of the, one of those big fancy television shooting screens. Anytime you can get on location, it just looks so much more incredible. And that was the part that blew me away with that preview.
Yeah, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. When it hit us with the Part 1, I was like, damn, this story in this movie is so big. They need, who knows, maybe 2 parts, 3 parts, but I'm right there with you. I think right out the gate, that one being the first trailer, by the end of it, by the end of the 9th trailer, I was like, damn, I'm still thinking about how good that Mission Impossible trailer is. But for me, I think I'm a little tied between, no, I'm not really tied. Dune 2 has me so fucking hype because it reminded me how much I loved the first Dune. And when the first Dune ended and, sitting in theater, I remember thinking like, how long do I have to wait for part 2? Well, now it's here and it's like, shit, it's fucking here. So I'm excited for Dune 2.
Fucking sandworms.
The trailer basically shows like a whole kind of scene, right? Like it basically shows you the whole scene of him, what appears to be riding his first, what do they call it? Worms?
First wave, bro. First wave into the new age, bro.
If there's a scene where he says that, that'd be cool. But I feel like they showed you a whole scene and you're still like, oh, this is only not even a quarter of the movie. And I'm like, it really grabbed my attention.
Right here costs more than your house.
Oh, 100%. I feel like Gran Turismo, that trailer, it felt like it showed the whole movie from like beginning to end.
Sign me up. I want to see it.
Yeah, and I'm still like, damn, that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. But the trailer that I'd say ties for my interest, The Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I thought we was done with it, and you're telling me we're getting a prequel?
I had no idea this was even in the works.
Oh yeah, the book came out. The book came out not too long ago. I think the book came out 2 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And
the more you know.
And then this focuses on
came out in 20. That's why it came out in fucking 2020 when the world was going to shit. I don't think I definitely would have
perfect timing actually for that
perfect timing. Yeah. What's it about? Post-apocalyptic world. You're releasing your book during all this? I mean, why not?
Talk about timing.
So what happens in that movie? Oh, people fight for resources like toilet paper.
We're gonna put that in there.
But yeah, that trailer caught me by complete surprise. To Blythe's point, I was not expecting. I didn't know that a prequel was in the works. And then when I seen help me out here. When I seen Oh Boy,
Zendaya
he's talking about the dude from Game of Thrones.
And I'm drawing a bad blank right now.
Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage.
Oh.
Drew gets all the props because he thought of it without even having to look it up. I immediately.
I thought you were still talking about Dune. Now you're talking about Hunger Games. Okay.
Hunger Games. When I seen Peter Dinklage, I was like, oh shit! If Peter Dinklage is in it.
I love how dramatic that they get with like his character. His character always has some sort of close up, him looking.
He's always has his hand behind his back.
Always. And he always has a drinking problem too.
Or like a fidget problem.
Yeah, for real.
He always
fidget,
has to
like,
be
what's wrong with you?
something.
Oh, you're torn. You had a good life and you're torn. All right, cool. And then what? Like, welcome to Thor number 3. What is it? Okay, you're torn. You're war torn. You have no hands.
Okay, and he still put his hand behind his back.
For real.
Okay, and Viola Davis is also in
She looks
that movie.
crazy.
Viola Davis is already super fucking intense. You want to make her more intense? Give her a blue eye.
Yeah.
One blue eye.
One blue eye and crazy, like, stringy hair. And then you're like, all right, go for it.
Did y'all ever see Five O Goes West?
Yes.
The crazy,
eye. So good.
Yeah, so I'd say those two. Blythe, I'm surprised you didn't say Indiana Jones.
I was going to. I was just waiting for my moment.
I thought
Yes.
I gave you your moment. You said,
Well,
and
you said,
picked Mission Impossible.
The most impactful trailer for sure, because I've already talked about Indiana Jones on your show before. So I didn't want to rehash it, but if you would like to talk about it, let's go.
Would you like to talk about our Lord and Savior, Harrison Ford? Okay, good warm-up. I think we've given the listeners enough time to understand what they're about to get into, which is a very casual post-movie. We hit the mics. It hasn't even been a full 30 minutes since we left the theaters. We hit the mics immediately after our first viewing of Guardians of the Galaxy, catching it on premiere night, and we're on the mics. So we're about to enter spoiler territory, and this is your fair warning, all right? If you haven't seen the movie, not really sure what you're doing listening to this episode, unless you're just really excited to hear our voices, and you're like, I'm starved for short box content. I don't give a fuck about spoilers. Then the more the merrier. But we're about to get into spoiler territory, so this is your fair warning. Going forward, we'll be talking about important plot points that might give away the movie, might spoil it, etc., etc. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, you guys know how I like to start just because it's fresh in our minds. Let's go and talk about the, I guess we normally start with post-credit scenes, but I felt like these weren't that substantial.
No, nothing about it was. No, the first post-credit scene was dope.
True. Which the first end credit scene being a little scene or preview of the new team of the Guardians of the Galaxy, which includes Rocket, Cosmo, a very older looking Groot,
Buff looking Groot.
super buff looking Groot, Adam Warlock, who looks good in that costume. They had Kraglin, and I didn't catch the name of the little girl that was among like the
Jib Jib.
Jib Jib.
friend,
Yeah.
friend.
Jib Jib.
One of the freed children, I guess, joins the team, and we got the preview of that.
Like, that's not Moondragon, is it? Or not one is like.
I don't know, but it looked like she had psychic powers. She's clearly got like some sort of powers. I think that's safe to say. So originally, James Gunn had announced that he would have that he had like another movie in mind, like that a fourth Guardians movie could happen, but he had mentioned that like in 2017. But as the years progressed and we were getting closer to the date, I think he kind of finalized like, actually, this is the last movie, and if I did do another Guardians movie, it would be like using the characters or in other movies. And then he even mentioned like a possible side project of just Mantis and Drax. And even Dave Bautista was like on board for that and was like, oh, I would definitely come back if they did something like that. Obviously, he later on went to say that Marvel that idea never picked up steam. I think at the moment it's clear to say like this is the final Guardians movie. We might get these characters in other cameos or films or maybe in future MCU movies. Just out of curiosity, would you guys like to see a separate kind of Guardians trilogy based on these characters or this new team led by Rocket? Is that like something of interest to you guys?
Yes. Yes, I'd feel like I would definitely watch those movies to see exactly how far you can go.
I would give it a shot, but I'm not exactly excited about the thought of it. I think this was such a good just closeout ending. I just feel like we've been saying goodbye to these same Marvel characters for the last like 3 years. I'm ready for the new direction wherever Marvel is going into.
So you mean this new team that they just created?
Well, sure.
That would go in a whole different direction?
I don't know what I want out of Marvel, I guess.
That's understandable.
Because I don't know if I should still care about these characters. I don't know if I should be trying to learn about the new characters. I don't know if all of this is intertwined. I don't know if any of it matters because of the multiverse. I think I'm just I feel stuck, but I enjoyed this movie a lot.
Yeah. And maybe that's the most important thing. Like, did you enjoy the process, the ride of this whole movie? Because I'm in the same boat. I thought the ending for this movie was such a perfect send-off. Like, there really wasn't, I think, any more they could explore. They really, like, explored these characters and, like, what made them tick and overcoming, like, because, I mean, what brought them together initially was, they all had trauma. They all had, like, a rough past, a shady past, and they were dealing with it in the same way, being bounty hunters and violence and all that. And I felt like by the end of this movie, like there was such a beautiful ending to every character, or like them like addressing like Mantis. Like I thought that was a beautiful send off for her to like go solo. And I guess there's a sense of me that's like a little curious, like, oh, what happens with Mantis? What goes on with Gamora? But at the same time, I don't think I feel compelled enough now to like continue seeing that adventure. I thought the send off to this was so good. Drew, what'd you think about the ending and them kind of disbanding?
Kind of felt a little bit forced. You spent this entire movie saving your friend, and then you're like,
all right, time to go.
Yeah. Like this whole, like, that's what I'm saying. The whole movie, I was like, oh, all right. There's like the whole point of this whole movie is they're trying to save Rocket. Did all this stuff. Then you basically just rescue you basically rescue a whole planet, and it's like, well, I'm gonna go hang out with my grandfather. What?
They didn't even take a shower. They were like still kind of like stinky. Like, all right, man, I'm good to go. We good? All right, bet. Sounds good.
He's like, I'm tired. Like, I was like, what? You're just gonna go to Earth and like that, like try to live a normal life? Get the fuck out of here.
Because Quill did make that point to Gamora. He said something along the lines of that this used to be your family. This used to be your thing.
Yeah.
You used to work it all out with us.
And now he's like, all right. Well,
yeah, I mean, I chalk it up to the literal like end of the series, right? It's like, look, either we're going to give you an ending like this or leave as a cliffhanger. And I'm okay with them ending it the way it is. But I do see your point, Drew.
Well, I did hear a comment that I agree with a lot, that it said it kind of left everything open-ended so Marvel or somebody else can come in and do something with these characters.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
I would have rather have one of them pass away if Star-Lord would have died, I would have been way happier with the story. Not because I want him to die, but it would have been like, okay, this makes sense of like why they need to go their separate ways.
I'm glad you bring that up because I mentioned that to Blythe that it felt like the entire marketing, the entire like kind of zeitgeist for this movie was everyone predicting that Rocket was going to die. This will be the saddest you ever mourn, a CGI raccoon, or it might be it felt like someone was going to die. I think I went into it thinking like someone's going to die is probably going to be Rocket. I think we even joked about it prior to walking through the theater.
I would riot.
And they did a lot of fake outs for deaths. Like at one moment, it felt like Drax was probably going to kick the can. Another moment, like when Nebula goes into the ship and she's steering it, I'm like, okay, she's going to be the hero, and sacrifice herself.
Ripped Groot's head off.
Yeah, right. Like
He was a spider head Groot.
Dude, that was like that like took me off. I was like, whoa.
There's just a lot of fake outs. They subverted, to me, a lot of expectations in this movie. But it looked like you were going to say something on the topic of a character dying or something.
Well, if you think about it, Disney obviously owns Star Wars and Marvel, and they get a lot of comparisons now for a lot of the creative direction. But if you think about it, Carrie Fisher almost died just exactly like Chris Pratt's character. Frozen in space.
Then he was
Then they
saved
force
by
saved
the
him.
Force.
I won't lie, that was such a weird fucking scene. Star-Lord, like, fucking bloating, I think that is how you die. Like, when you die in space like that.
Oh, I don't know.
Like, you do
Ever
bloat.
died in space, so like,
I can't deny or confirm.
Yeah.
But I think that is like the physical process. Like, you bloat
I knew he
and
wasn't
shit
going to
like that.
die when they did that to his face.
Yeah, it was way too
I was
funny.
like, okay, all right.
It was way too funny. And I love when he
it
gets
look
saved.
cool?
I love when he gets saved. Like his face is still really puffy and shit. But the whole time, I won't lie. It kind of took me out of it just for a little because the whole time I'm thinking like, so he's freezing to death, which makes sense. But there's that giant fucking fire explosion behind him. It ain't gonna like warm him up just a little bit.
And when you land on the
I
ship,
don't
do you immediately have oxygen? Because it wasn't pressurized at all. I noticed that. And that's not what they did in the Matt Damon movie.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, they needed whoever wrote or double check the science and math and The Martian to look at that last ending. But I'll give him a pass.
I'm gonna
because
see the
the last
movie
one.
and see who the NASA consulting team is. Like how it says consulting team assistant to Mr. Pratt. I'm like, physics department. I'm like, oh, okay. This is the guy.
That dude graduated from Duval County.
Special thanks to Professor Threepeat.
Okay. Second, just quickly going through the end credit scene. Second end credit scene, Peter Quill eating a very loudly eating a bowl of cereal with his grandpa. Who, by the way, his grandpa had did you see the newspaper what it said? It was Kevin Bacon abducted tells all. Which is a callback, now that I think about it, is a callback to the Christmas special.
Which is basically your Drax and
Mantis side
movie.
project.
Yeah, movie.
Which, I won't lie, I'm okay not having a Drax and Mantis
No,
side
we
project.
don't need that.
We definitely don't. I'm glad that idea got scrapped.
Wow.
On the topic of that end credit scene, I damn near teared up pretty hard when he got that hug from his grandpa at the end. When Peter's like, and I was like, oh, this is so cliche. I think I'm at the wrong address. No, baby. He's here. How many times have you seen that done in a movie? I'm like, all right, we get it.
100
But that
times.
hug was so good. God damn. There was so many moments I was
So
like,
many hugs in this movie.
oh, this movie was pro hug all day. Matter of fact, I want to read you a headline. So I typed in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 on Google, and I looked at what the top headlines were for some of these bigger, legacy media companies. And there's a few I want to mention because, Drew, you brought up a perfect thing. So NPR's review headline was, Review, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 puts the audience through a bad breakup. Wall Street Journal headline, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 review, story of the space raccoon. I thought that was pretty cool. New York Times headline, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 review, raccoon tears and a final mixtape. Actually, that one might be my favorite. I brought up all those headlines, and I meant to just read that the current IMDb Rotten Tomatoes score, when I checked this morning, was at like 79%.
It's like, I don't know how the Dow Jones work, but I know how the tomato and I know how that credit score works. You're like, ooh,
The whole time I'm watching this movie, and I thought about that score. I'm like, well, it's really early. It's like Thursday. We probably won't see like that score cemented until the weekend. But the whole time I'm watching this movie, I'm like, this is not a 79% movie. This is one of those movies that I think audience scores are going to be like perfect,
Higher.
and critics are going to be like, not perfect, but like a B+. But I bring up Rotten Tomatoes because the critic one-liner was this, quote, "A galactic group hug that might squeeze a little too tight on the heartstrings. The final Guardians of the Galaxy is a loving hurrah for the MCU's most ragtag family." Obviously, now having seen the movie, perfect. I think that is perfect. And Drew, you mentioned like there's so many hugs in this movie. I think I heard you guys. I think Blythe, maybe it was you or maybe Drew, but maybe all of us were talking about moments that we were about to cry in, or moments we did cry in.
Yeah,
Blythe, you
at least
said, what,
6 times. Yeah, there was the moment. Okay, let me think of a few. Okay, so the baby raccoons first of all.
God. This will be the most emotional anyone gets seeing a raccoon carry his babies, because in the real life you'd be like, what the fuck?
I think Quill looking at Gamora, that first initial conversation between them, that tugged at my heartstrings
hard.
for the two of them.
You're like, when are they going to figure it out?
There's still signs in there, you can tell.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to think of the other ones. Help me.
Oh, any of the animals. Like any of those animal
Oh
scenes
my
where they're just
God.
laying down talking.
Oh, the reunion between Lila and
Rocket
and
and
Rocket.
Heather.
Oh, when she puts his hand on his chest and she's
Not
like,
yet.
not yet.
Come
You're
on,
like,
man.
"Ah,
Stop."
no,
All of his
stop."
friends.
Those
when they-
animals were obnoxiously adorable.
That bunny didn't even have a face or
Floor?
legs.
You mean Floor?
Yeah,
Floor,
Floor.
yes.
Yeah, Floor didn't even have a face, and you're like, oh my God, you're so adorable. James Gunn needed to do We 3. That Grant Morrison We 3, like,
Sidebar that. I want to bring that up here soon, but the scene that really got me was when Lila gets shot, which for a moment looked like High Evolutionary just had a pistol. I was like, this dude is powerful as fucking, he's got a pistol. When Rocket reacts to the death of Lila, just that scream. I was
Oh, yeah.
damn, imagine like Bradley Cooper got in his bag this fucking movie.
Yeah, he did.
Good
That
God.
voice
Yeah.
acting was
Yeah.
incredible.
that scream was incredible.
That scream was like it hit me. Like,
Very
I was like,
heart-rending.
man, I think he really like. I was like, damn, we really just seen the death of someone
I was like,
important.
they really shot that otter in front of Bradley Cooper. They're like, Bradley Cooper, this is going to be your co-star. This is your co-star. This otter, take care of her. And they basically freaking Kingsman, like, put a bullet in this thing. You're
Goodness
like,
gracious.
why?
Yeah, that was that's probably how you got that guttural scream. It was just very guttural. That was a moment that really got to me. You mentioned the Gamora and Star-Lord reunion. That was something else. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a lot of just. This was a heavy movie, but you know what? I don't think it was as heavy as Black Panther 2. I remember us all leaving that just feeling drained, and I think that's because it had a real life. The passing of Chadwick Boseman. I think that was, the fact that there was that real life tie made that movie heavy. But this movie was still very emotional. But goddamn, was it really beautiful and fun as fuck at times.
I feel like that's just all the credit to James Gunn, because that's his other, like, Peacemaker and really Peacemaker. I would say they do like the weird and the funny.
Oh, the Suicide
really
Squad
well.
too.
And to make it also super emotional as well.
Mm-hmm.
This felt as weird and just like crazy as like his early
This
like
had to be the
trauma
most
film.
graphic. This had to be the most graphic Marvel movie up to date.
I would love to see like the suits of Disney watching this, just squirming in their chairs.
Those creature designs were unsettling at times. Some of them looked cool as hell. Like the
Pig.
The turtle as it was transforming.
I was like, oh, this is like looks like a little Ninja Turtle. That's cool. And then he just basically destroys it. You're like, holy shit.
yeah. Some of the violence in this movie felt like it felt like he had no, I guess, restraint.
like Nebula snapping back after she had been crushed a few times, was like her head snapping.
Yo,
and-
when her head snapped back, I said, oh, shit.
You know what scene had me like, oh damn, is this I almost wanted to double check like the rate. Is this rated R or something? Or a higher? It wasn't rated R, but a higher rating than the normal is when Star-Lord like basically crash lands back to Earth using that dude as a shield.
Oh, straight kills him.
Well, he's already dead. He dies from that crash, the impact on crash. But him taking like the knife out and using, I don't know, it was something. I was like, damn, that's really.
he dropped an F-bomb too. I think you're only allowed one. If you do any more than one, you have to be rated R.
I felt like that was a waste of the F-bomb. I
that was
knew
such
that
a good
rule.
one.
When he tells her to get in the fucking car, I was like, you could use it for another.
Please open the
fucking door.
door.
There you go. Yeah. Okay, speaking, it sounds like we kind of want to move into talking about specific.
The genocide. Can we talk about the genocide?
No.
Holy
No.
crap.
I feel like a genocide at this point, especially with like alien races, is not new to
Oh,
Guardians.
yeah, right. It does not matter.
They've been kind of doing it. But to your point, I was surprised how fast it happened.
Yeah.
I was like, shit.
Holy fuck. He's like, we're going to start over and try again. You're like, what the hell?
All right, let's talk about specific characters, and I want to hear any key moments that come to mind, kind of the first like word association or word scene association. Let's start with, I want to start with the protagonist this time. Let's start with the High Evolutionary, played by, hopefully I'm going to say this right, but Chukwudi Iwuji. I felt like this dude, I don't want to compare the two because, I feel like it's two different ones, but fuck, I'm going to go for it. If Kang the Conqueror was supposed to be like the big MCU baddie, did we talk about this in the Ant-Man review that we felt like Kang the Conqueror, like, it was almost believable that he was like this big time baddie, but
He got beat by
it kind of fizzled out towards the end, right? Like you were kind of like, I guess maybe he's not. Maybe the next iteration. High Evolutionary, no question about it. That was a scary motherfucker. Yo, this is Botter. Sorry for interrupting this episode, but I'll keep it brief. I wanted to let you know about a massive sale we have going on over at the Shortbox store on all of our merchandise and apparel. That's theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com. You can now save 20% off your entire order using the discount code YOO, Y-O-O. So if you've been waiting for the right time to finally buy that Gauntlet snapback, or if you ever wanted to buy any of the shirts you see me wear on the podcast, well, now's your chance to get them for a steal. We still have a few sizes left of everything, but they won't last long, and once they're gone, they are gone. And then I mentioned that all of our apparel is screen printed on high quality material. None of that heat transfer or direct to garment stuff. Our shirts are some of the most comfortable ones you'll ever wear, and the hats look even better in person. So wear your support for the Shortbox Nation proudly, knowing that you're going to look damn good doing it. Get to theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com as soon as you can, and don't forget to use that discount code YOO, Y-O-O, to save 20% off your entire order. All of this information can be found in this episode's show notes if you want to get there faster. Thanks for not pressing fast forward. Now back to the show.
He was at times, especially when they peeled his face off. That was super disgusting, but he was still, I guess, intimidating even in that moment.
It's just how much he didn't care.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just disregarded everything.
Oh, yeah.
Genocide?
Yo, my God. It's just the way that, like, he kept, he didn't even acknowledge Rocket's name. It's whatever his number was.
Yeah.
He just kept,
You're right.
He kept calling him 9137 or whatever. And,
P13, yeah.
And then the fact that, like, he's just like, I don't understand. He's like, I'm such a genius. I can make anything. And I gave you this ability. And he's just like, that's what I'm saying. Like, Rocket was at one point way smarter than him.
I think he was just shocked that how smart he was. But I think Rocket probably surpassed him, right? Like, he was able to, hell, in that one moment, he definitely surpassed his intelligence. And I think his reaction to it was really fucking scary.
That's what he said.
And he was like drunk, man.
That's what he said. That's what I'm saying. He's like mad with power in the sense of like, he's like, how come I didn't figure it out? Like you figured it out, but I didn't figure this out. He's like, what? And that's what like really got him fucking off.
I felt like if this movie was supposed to be about like empathy and accepting, others for who they are, he was the complete antithesis of it, right? Like, and I think that's what made him such a scary and intimidating and powerful villain, was that he was the complete antithesis. And there wasn't like, I don't think he had any redeeming trait, right? Like, I think some of the best character villains in MCU are always the ones that, they say the ones that you can relate to somewhat or see like their point of view in some way. I don't think there was anything redeeming about him.
I felt like Mr. Sinister.
He was a straight mad scientist. And I think the only ding I have against him is that I wish we could have gotten to see a little more of his background, because did they explain like how he was so powerful?
Mm-mm.
And I wasn't, and he mentioned to Peter,
He's not in the comics.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Going into this movie, and I think that's why I'm so impressed by Chukwudi's portrayal of High Evolutionary. I think Drew, you might be able to agree, but in the comics, High Evolutionary is one of the most boring, stale villains or characters in the comics to me personally. Like he's just really sci-fi. Like I don't know, just like a bland scientist obsessed with like evolution. He doesn't really have any powers. I don't know. He hasn't been one of my favorites, but this perspective on him, just being diabolical and mad, I think could have only been possible thanks to Chuck Woody's performance.
Kind of like Sid from Toy Story, the way he was manipulating all the toys.
Oh, dude, yeah. Damn, this actually does kind of feel like almost like a Toy Story.
Let's go straight to the Guardians then. Thoughts on Peter Quill? Any noticeable, outstanding scenes that you took with you?
I think for his relationship with Gamora, I just feel so bad for him that he's gone through all of this his entire life, and she's right there, and he can't do anything to get her back.
This was a really nice, different side of Star-Lord. I think Chris Pratt gave a new characterization to him.
Yo, yes.
Because I didn't feel like he was like this big bumbling idiot. Like this is like the most exciting I got for Star-Lord because he was doing a lot of things like smart. This was like a different movie. Like he wasn't that same person he was the last movie. So I thought that was really good that they gave him really good growth.
Yeah, his character arc was awesome in this. Man, I think this might be I won't say that. I think this might be among his best portrayals of the character outside of the first one, right? The first movie he establishes like who Star-Lord is. I think he gives him like a fresh coat of paint. I think this might be either the second or best portrayal of Star-Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd probably say the second. I would almost say maybe the second you could compete with is when in Infinity War when he's like, losing his mind at Gamora.
Yeah, and then especially like towards the scene where you get him and Groot, and like him and Groot just know exactly what to do, and that's what I like about it. It's like whenever they split up and they're with each other or they're with a different team member, they are so good at. They're now a team. Like this is a very
well said,
fully fleshed out team. You can put any two of them together, and they're still going to figure it out. Like. This movie really established why they're the Guardians of the Galaxy because there was a lot like we got to go rescue them, and then like the next scene was them coming in. They're like, "We're gonna rescue you." They're like, "Okay, now that we're all here, now we can fuck this guy up."
Yeah, it was a very competent team. I think it just shows like how tangible the growth of these characters has been throughout the course of not only the trilogy but I think the MCU.
And they took Rocket out, and that was another thing that was even crazy. In the movie, they took him out in the beginning of the movie.
They did a lot. This was a large, in part, flashback movie, which I thought was like an interesting like vehicle to tell the story.
Yeah.
Drew, you brought up actually one of my favorite scenes with Star-Lord, and that's him and Groot escaping and killing that dude, using that dude as a fucking crash pillow. I thought that was such a dope scene that they set it up with, before they even leave. Before they even get to the High Evolutionary's lair, Star-Lord hands Groot the guns, and he's like, "You know what to do with it." And then for it to like have that big payoff, yeah, that was an awesome scene.
What the heck is going on?
All right, I want to save Rocket for last because I feel like we all have a lot of things to say about him, and I don't want to make sure we get
one particular Guardian that I want to talk about that I think had probably the best growth.
All right, let's see if I'm just going to go down the list at this point. Thoughts and scenes that come to mind for Mantis.
One in particular is the fact that like. They try to, I don't know like how to describe her character because she's not an idiot, but she's very much what's it called? She's not gullible, but she's like a matter of fact. She's like literal.
Yeah, literal.
She's literal. She's not like a literal idiot, but the one thing that I like, these things are about to like kill them, and she's like, well, they're not. At one point, you find out like they're not going to kill us. They're just scared, and then she kind of like talks to them. And then oh my god, I love the fact that like she was calling Drax an idiot.
Oh, when she's trying to defend Drax to Nebula, she's like, he's stupid. Basically like, yo, he's stupid, but we love him.
Yeah, he's dumb, yeah. And he's like, what? And then she just basically puts her hand on it. She's like, forget.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, you know that she's done this before. Like,
I found it fucking hilarious how Mantis fucks with Drax now. Because when in the first encounter, it was mainly Drax like taking shots at her, like, basically calling her dumb and you're ugly. But now Mantis has her own unique way of fucking with them by by controlling the minds, like that guard where she's like, "You're madly in love with Drax," and like how uncomfortable Drax. He's like, "Yes, Drax a destroyer." Dude, I thought that was great. That was great.
Are they in love?
They kind of feel like it implies that, right?
yeah,
Maybe not in love,
Because he
but
kind of
like
Drax kind of cried at the end.
because they've had such a long lasting relationship.
a very intimate relationship,
Very intimate.
right?
She knows exactly how he feels in his heart. Because in the second movie, when they're sitting down,
Mm-hmm.
he's basically like calling her an idiot and ugly, but he's like, but like in a nice way. He's like, I'm not attracted to you because you're ugly.
I see the romance angle, but also I maybe just personally speaking, I kind of also see them as like brother and sister in a way, you know. Like, but I do see there is like that underlying romance, but
Because they bicker. They're really good at bickering with each other.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, she was definitely way more aggressive.
Yeah, because
In
I love
this
when
movie.
she's yelling at him for no reason. She's like,
Not just her, she was yelling at
Nebula.
Gamora, or Nebula, too.
I had a note here. When Mantis gets her arm broken by Adam Warlock,
holy
I was
shit.
like, that really hurt. You know, it's Mantis. It's like the nicest one on the team. So it definitely made me like wince, like, oof. But I thought it was really cool when she healed her arm using that med pack shit was awesome.
Mhm.
All right, we've already brought him up, so why not go to him? Drax.
Oh
What
my
comes to
God.
mind for Drax, Drew?
Dude, he had so many good scenes. Like, to me, he was really, really funny. There was some other all the kids are freaking out, and he's able to calm them down,
Yeah, that was really
which I
sweet.
thought was really, really good. And then the fact that like he starts speaking their language, and they're like, "You speak their language?" He's like, "You never asked."
Yeah, you just assumed that was.
Mhm. You thought I was an idiot.
Yeah,
I noted that children's scene as well because right before that scene happened, I had an internal monologue with myself like, when's the last time Drax did something heroic? And him having that moment and it wasn't like a big battle scene really showed like the humanity of him and why he is like such an important piece of like the puzzle. Even though I still feel like he's kind of become a caricature of himself, or at least in the second movie is when I started feeling like, yo, they are really leaning in on him being just
like this
a
dumb
one-liner. But that was a redeeming moment for
And
me.
they showed how powerful he was too, because he was going toe to toe with Adam Warlock for a minute.
Mhm.
Like when they were fighting, I was just like, "Dang!"
And that scene when he's fighting Adam Warlock and he has that moment where he does a slow turn, like a slow motion turn. I think Adam Warlock was like coming at him and he just turns around real slow, like, That was good. Life, what about you? Any thoughts that come to mind for Drax?
No, I mean, I think Drew kind of nailed it with everything he said, and you as well. I think for him, he's always just been just a short quip. There's not really, I don't really know too much about his backstory to care that much, yet his performance still makes me care about him, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, we're no strangers to like all these wrestlers that are becoming like Hollywood actors. And the one thing that I always say is they say that Dave Bautista is the best one. They're like, he is the best WWE wrestler turned Hollywood. And I'm like, I gotta see it. Like, they're just probably just hyping him up. But I'm like, oh, no. Watching them and seeing this, it's like, I don't know, like, his Drax is so good because it's not Dave Bautista. Now, if it was The Rock, I'd be like, oh, that's The Rock doing a character. But the fact that it's Dave Bautista, I really do believe whatever role he plays, even though like he has that look to him. Like,
Yeah, that's a good. I
Was
like
James Gunn a big wrestling fan? Is that why he's, I guess, able to coach these guys like a John Cena?
I have
And
no idea.
I think he's just such a big nerd. I think he's such a big nerd, and he probably is more than likely. I want to say that Drax had a badass line in this movie, and I think it's when Gamora is like freaking out, like, why are they going back to save Rocket? You know, what are they thinking? I don't have the full context, but I do have his line. He says, "We won't think about it when we do it." I thought
Yeah.
that was such a hard bar because even
Oh, they're talking about killing him when they're like he's so
Yes,
powerful and they
yeah,
can't
yeah,
kill
yeah.
him.
and
He's
he's
like,
like,
"We're
"We
not
won't
gonna
think about it when we do it." I thought that was a hard bar. Star-Lord, just to go quickly back to Star-Lord, because thinking about Drax having like that intense moment, Star-Lord had some edge to him this movie. I think this was the most competent he's been and most like badass, maybe most like
They were
lethal.
killing people.
Like out the gate,
in this movie.
out the gate, he starts out like drunk, and for some reason that threw me off. I was like, "Shit, he's having a depressed, like he's depressed." You know, like we seen it in Thor, and it was just sad. But with him, it was like a little bit of like it caught me off guard, and you could tell like he isn't to be fucked with. That's definitely what I got out of him. All right, moving on, and I've been waiting to talk about this character here, Nebula, who I'm gonna go say right now was probably one of my favorite characters. And that was not how she started out for me. I always thought she was kind of maybe one of my least favorite characters if you would have asked me before, like, this movie. No, I actually end up really liking her in Endgame. But I cannot believe how much I like Nebula, is what I'm getting at. What comes to mind when you guys think of Nebula? And Blythe, I want to hear from you.
I definitely think that this was her strongest performance because it's almost as if we're seeing her become more human or identify with maybe more resonate with more of her human side before it got all turned into machines. I did think her voice was a little forced at times through this movie. It just
What do you mean?
It just it felt very it just felt forced. But the actress overall I thought did great. I mean, she conveyed a lot of emotions throughout the entire thing, and I think she did pretty good, especially towards the end. Like she has a nice little send off.
Yeah, Nebula's upgrades look badass.
The arm that like does everything.
Awesome. And I love that Rocket, she credits Rocket for giving her the upgrades. And when she first hears Rocket's voice, because no one knows that Rocket's alive, but when she hears Rocket's voice on the intercom and she has that moment where she like kind of puts her hand on her chest and kind of like, whew, such good acting. I mean, Karen Gillan, amazing. Nebula, like I said, her growth, love the upgrades. Her battle scenes were badass. I think she had some of the better like CGI and special effects.
Yeah, the CGI was incredible.
Like how she's just like snapping herself back together. It was so cool to watch her.
Real Jamie Tart, this one.
Drew, you want to add anything to the Nebula talk?
No, I think you guys pretty much nailed it on it. The fact that like this is a character that I didn't care about in the first movie, but now here we are. Like I was like, oh man, if they kill her, I'm probably gonna be upset.
And I like the I guess the dichotomy between Gamora and Nebula have swapped places where Gamora at one point was begging Nebula to just be sisters, like, have a heart, find humanity. And she was so filled with rage. But now Nebula seems more of like the level headed. She's not, she's moved past that. Like hell, in Endgame, she literally destroys her old self.
Mm-hmm.
But now Gamora is literally her old self and, hasn't had the same progression. And I think that's such an interesting dynamic between the two.
I like how they grunt to each other too. Like how they say
yeah. Moving on, Groot. Thoughts on our guy Vin Diesel and really just Groot in general. I feel like we got so many versions of Groot yet again in this. Spiderhead Groot, teenage adult Groot, old ass Groot in the end credit scene.
I wanted him in the outfit.
Oh, that'd be so
like
cool.
I just wanted him in the big outfit. Like even if you rip it, like he had to go because it's Kaiju Groot. That's what they called him, Kaiju Groot.
Yeah, Kaiju Groot. Drew, what did you think? I heard Blythe's opinion on this, but Blythe, I want you to chime after Drew does. What did you think about Groot saying "I love you guys"?
That took me off. Like, let's say
it was weird.
There's so many things that take you out. Like in that movie, I could probably pick 3 things that like really take you out of the scene. That one was definitely the top one where I was like, oh.
Same here. But Blythe brought up an interesting theory that kind of like massages it. Blythe, do you care? Do you remember it?
So when Gamora spends the whole movie not able to understand Groot and she's super frustrated, I think kind of along with the audience, then towards the end, she understands him because they're friends now. So maybe that was a specific creative choice by, the creative team to say now everybody is friends. And so the audience, including us we understand Groot. Because I agree, it took me out of it, but
I do like that.
That's
a dope theory, right?
You should have said this in the beginning, like right before it started.
Your ass up.
No. Well, now you have the.
No. I'm talking about before you go and watch the movie. You're like, all right, guys, listen. Before you guys watch this movie,
here's the thing. That'll never happen because the only people that should be listening to this is someone that's seen the movie. So you're also having that moment. But I thought that was a really good description. The only thing I'll say about Groot, I guess, is just how
he's a good shot.
He was so cool.
Yeah.
His and I'm gonna go and jump the gun. Favorite scene in this movie was probably that hallway fight. That might be one of the best fucking fight scenes in the MCU.
Which hallway?
With the guns?
With all
the hallway,
of them?
the main one. The last one.
The last one. Okay.
Yeah,
the one where it's like where fucking Drax throws his sword in the guy's knee. He throws him up and then uses his sword to like basically play darts.
There is so much going on, and I love that every character has like their own moment. But Groot, like just It's something about like anytime like he extends his arm and it like slowly
and then
intertwines.
Rocket was like
Oh,
climbing
the
over.
trackers.
Bah,
Yeah.
bah, 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 bah.
Badass.
The rocket tracker shot.
That shit was badass. That Rocket was like, oh my god, just using Groot's arm as a fucking conveyor belt to blast people. And then even when Groot like was growing his branches inside one of those what do they call them, the hell spawns, and he like put it inside of his nose and it basically like exploded him from the outside in. Groot growing wings too. I'm sorry. Groot was actually had a lot of cool ass
When he
moments.
started having to grow his body back, that I was like, oh, that's how that works.
Yeah, that was cool too. Like the weird skeleton.
The spider head.
The spider head was the one that's like, yo, they ripped his head off, and then he's just like, Groot. And you're like,
Groot was kind of
setting
brolic,
the
bro.
tone for the film because that happened like in one of the
a
very
lot. And
first
then
scenes.
they basically take Nebula and break her neck like 10 times. You're like,
Exactly, and she grew. She popped, locked it. She popped and locked it right back.
for real.
All right, who else do we need to talk about? Let's talk about Adam Warlock. Drew, what did you think about Adam Warlock portrayed by? What did you think about Will Poulter playing Adam Warlock?
You know, for somebody that's not in this movie for that long, the scenes that he had were very well done. Like, because the fact that you know that he's just a newborn and he's figuring things out, you're like, okay, this is pretty cool. Like, he had really good like idiot moments.
I'm kind of hit or miss on him right now. I don't know where I land on him just yet, but there was a point in the movie where I was like, if you take him out of this movie, does it leave a vacuum? Does it have any impact if you take him out? And I think the answer still might be no, other than saving Star-Lord at the end. But I didn't hate him. He serves a certain plot point. Like, he kicks off the movie, right? Like, the whole reason that they even have to save Rocket is because he came through,
And fuck
absolutely
Rocket.
kicked their ass, put Rocket in the ER, and then he ends up saving Star-Lord. But I wonder if they're not going to use him in the future. I just don't see what his role was in this movie per se. He definitely felt like a character that maybe they had bigger plans for, and maybe they still do. I don't know. I'm still kind of iffy, but overall, I thought it was just cool to watch him like power up and just be like this powerhouse. You know, like he kind of lives up to how powerful he is in the in the comic books. Like, what you think about Adam Warlock?
I didn't really know too much about this guy coming into the movie. I'd seen him a couple times, got him kind of mixed up with the other guy, Harry Styles' character at the end of Eternals. I
Star
kind of
Fox.
got those two characters confused. So I don't really have anything valuable to add to the conversation, but I think that's more of my point, is that I don't really know what his point was.
I felt at one point Adam Warlock being in the movie was a big deal, and I think so much time has passed that him just kind of being there was just like, oh shit, I forgot Adam Warlock is in this, and they do that quick explanation like, oh, you took him out the womb too early. He's kind of like, you know, to Drew's point, a nice way of saying he's still figuring things out.
You didn't microwave the popcorn bag. Not everything popped.
Exactly.
Still a
Overall,
couple
though,
kernels in there.
he wasn't like terrible. But yeah, I will say definitely cool to watch his fight scenes. Let's go to Gamora next before we talk about who I think is the man of the hour. Thoughts, opinions on Gamora? Blythe, lead us.
Loved her. I thought it was really interesting to see the other side of her. Like you mentioned earlier, I thought that was a really good comparison, that she is now kind of taken on that Nebula type role. She was super intense at times, almost a little too intense.
Yeah.
But I've heard that the actress Zoe Saldana, she's done playing Gamora. Like, she's told James Gunn, like, she's not coming back for this role. Like, she's done with Marvel. So I think she kind of had her end game, I guess, for herself.
I don't blame her. I mean, it's probably...
I would imagine that a lot of these actors and actresses, like, they've
I'm ready
played
for
these
something
characters
new.
for 20 years.
Yeah, I got my check. Time to retire.
15 years, I guess.
Yeah.
I just have to go to Comic-Con and then Comic-Con.
I think I maybe noticed it the most with Gamora scenes. This movie had a lot of tight shots, like really up. The camera was up in their face, like to get the facial expressions, the emotions, like clearly across. And I think of Gamora, because I noticed that style of shooting kind of early on with all these tight shots and like claustrophobic and just, you know, you really got that raw energy. Gamora, to Blythe's point, felt scary at times, like her yelling at, you know, Peter, trying to like let him know, like, I'm not the person you think I am, or, you know, just how anti-saving Rocket she was. You know, it's like, damn, Zoe is killing it, having to play the same role, but like an earlier version. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's still playing Gamora, but it's an earlier version. And I thought she nailed it. Like, this felt like such a drastically different Gamora than we got towards like the end. Like she clearly does not give a fuck about Rocket. She almost gave up Rocket. Like, yeah, take the Badger, you know?
She's so rough around the edges, but you can kind of see like with her facial expressions, like she doesn't say much, but when she's like looking and she's making like her like you're like, oh, she actually cares about these people, but she's not gonna say anything.
You can see her thinking.
Yeah, and that's what like one thing I'd like really appreciate, especially with the Rocket stuff. Like, with Drax and them leaving, and I was like, oh, well, Drax knows that Gamora's on the ship, so Rocket's in good hands. But that wasn't the case in the sense of it was like, oh shit.
And once again, I feel like it goes back to like subverting your expectations. Like you're expecting certain characters to die, maybe. You might have expected like a happy ending for Peter Quill, but her going back and being happy. I like that Gamora didn't leave like as a loner or you felt sorry for her. It's like, no, she has her family. She's got a fresh new start. She's not the person like Peter expected her to be, and that's okay. And I thought that message was kind of cool, that it doesn't, that person also has their own life. And, you know, like I thought that was an interesting ending for her, that she's smiling at the end of it. She's surrounded by people that care for her. So you don't really feel too bad about Gamora. I don't think I really felt too bad for anyone by the end of this. And I think that's what made that ending so nice, was everyone got a good send off and you didn't feel too bad. You felt like everyone went through a healing process is what I'll say about it. All right, maybe not last but not least, I think I might be missing a character too. Let's talk about, like I said, who I think was the man of the hour, completely stole the show for me, Rocket Raccoon. Drew, what comes to mind when you think of Rocket Raccoon? Is there one particular scene that like really stood out to you? I felt like he had a lot, but
when you find out like how deadly he was, like it just showed how smart he was. The fact that when they killed his friend, and then he immediately grabs the gun, and he just basically just puts 3 bullets in all 3 of those guys, like doesn't even have to figure it out. Like this entire time, like I like the fact that like he's way smarter than you think. Like I like the fact that they made Rocket probably one of the most smartest characters in the entire universe, but he doesn't show that to you.
Yeah, he hides it with all that like that comedy, that rough edge.
Everything he has it, because like the one part that I like was when he was like, "Oh, I'm getting the fuck out of here," and he just starts grabbing everything, and he's like, "What is this?" He's like, "Oh, this is the key that's gonna get us out," and then he just swipes it. And then you're like, oh damn! Like he knew from the get go like how to get out. He's just kind of just trying to figure it all out at the same time.
You are literally watching the origin of from raccoon run of the mill raccoon to Rocket Raccoon. That whole scene of him like losing his friend, attacking a high evolutionary. I had that noted too. That whole scene was epic. Watching like this creature like just learn and evolve, like just mentally too, like how quickly he fucking picked shit up. And I love that he still kept that he learned how to hack. Yeah, Drew, I'm right there with you. Watching him like slowly become a genius level character was awesome, because then it makes moments when you go back and watch or think about his interactions with any of the other geniuses in the movies even better. Like when he talks to Iron Man or makes jokes about his suit. I think he also talks about, anytime he picks up a gun, like you're like, damn, of course he knows what that is. Even though he says like a line or something, a rude remark, like, it makes him more believable now when you go back, like, nah, this motherfucker can go toe to toe with any of these fucking big brains here. Life, what about you? Anything that come to mind for Rocket?
I think the moment when he saw the word raccoon on his cage, I think that was that moment, plus at the end when he says his name, he's like, I'm Rocket Raccoon. I thought that was like a really cool tie-in, because he used to always, be upset when people would call him a raccoon or call him, whatever,
he doesn't know what
rabbit or right. But he sees it on the cage. I think that seeing it on the cage plus the moment when he says his full name, I thought was really cool. Really nice moment.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I had anything else written for Rocket. I guess it was just a fake out that really had me like, oh my God, if I cry in this theater right now at this moment. I was ready to say bye to Rocket. And then to Drew's point, when that fucking otter put his hand out and said, not yet. And then Rocket comes back and everyone's hugging him and Groot's hugging him, the Roots. I was like, damn. Like, I wish they would have just stayed on that scene just a little longer. If they would have stayed on that scene just a little longer, it would have been Waterworks. And you got such a different performance from Bradley Cooper for this Rocket. Like, yeah, you still got him snarling and saying smart-ass remarks, but for the most part, like, seeing his like the fact that they can tell you his origin this late in the game, and it still feels like fresh and welcomed and still powerful. Yeah, excellent, so good. Do you guys want to say anything about any of the ancillary? I mean, if we go through every character, we'll be here all night. Any comments on characters like Cosmo
The little
or
dog.
Kraglin?
No, the little dog.
Oh, the alien dog from
I don't
Adam
know
Warlock?
what kind of
You know what it
It was
looks
really
like?
cute.
It looks like that what's his name? Milton in the Shang-Chi movie?
Oh, yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
talking about? He kind of looked like that with a face. With a face.
Instead of a butt. Like, you're like, oh, this is his face.
I'm going to say Kraglin. When he has his moment of redemption, when he sees Al Rooker character, I can't think of
Yondu.
Yondu, thank you. When he sees Yondu, he's like, you know, what did he say? Believe in your heart, boy? Or
Yeah, I aim with my heart.
say it with your heart, something like that. When he has that moment, that fucking whistle arrow is the coolest shit. Like,
bro,
it does not stop being cool.
I forgot in the beginning when Kraglin tries to use it on Adam Warlock, and he's like, "Who threw this?"
Who's whistling at me?
Yeah.
Who's whistling at me?
And, he's
Yeah.
just like- and that girl next to him is freaking out.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I forgot all about that. So good.
Speaking of funny scenes, when Drax is telling Peter the analogy and he nails it, and Mantis is like, "Yay!" And then when he starts going, she's like, "No." I thought that was great.
Oh
They
yeah,
do
because
have-
he's like, "Yo, I know the difference between a metaphor, a euphemism, and all that stuff." Oh, it's so good.
he does not clearly. All right. So I said something about Kraglin.
Soundtrack. What'd you think of the soundtrack?
Drew, you beat me right to it. You know I've been waiting to talk about this soundtrack. I don't know what my expectations were. I think the trailer, I want to say the trailer had that acoustic version of Creep in the trailer, I think. But fuck, I'll just cut to the chase. Soundtrack, fucking awesome. This movie was so stylistic and had such different looks to it that every single time they had a song play, incorporating it into the movie, I felt was like real seamless and smart. I mean, you could probably say like they kind of got a little gimmicky with it, like always having a headphone in or the way they'd cue it up. But I was here for it, man. Like, just like if it played through the speaker or he put on a headphone, I was here for it. And I wanted to know, aside from just your overall thoughts on the soundtrack, was there any particular song that you liked with a certain scene?
At the very end, I think that first song in the Guardians movie. I mean, I know this movie.
As a callback?
Yeah, it's sort of the callback.
And the fact that Rocket was like, this one's a special one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think
Bing,
that,
bing, bing,
to me,
bing.
that nothing beats the first Guardians soundtrack. This one was very good, but that first one is very, very tough to beat.
Oh, yeah.
And if you watch, there's a show on Vice that's been doing like these behind the scenes in Marvel, and they talk about how James Gunn really like fought to get music as a pivotal part of the first Guardians movie, and to see it sort of play this really strong role in the third one and the final one, I think was a really nice send off.
Star-Lord's house looks like a Walkman. When there's that scene where Gamora puts him in the bed and they pan out from outside, it looks like a Walkman from the way that the window is to like how he's set up. So I was like, oh, I wonder if this is like on purpose. The fact that you made his apartment
Probably.
look like a
It
Walkman.
seemed like a lot of those shots were very intentional, and I think if you look at all of the Marvel movies, I think this is safe to say that this is the best trilogy.
100%. Yes,
I remember
would.
being like meh about the second one, but the first and this one
I
are so
rewatched
strong. I don't mind it.
rewatched the second one, and I was way too harsh on it. That I was like, man, I don't give the second one enough credit. And the second one actually is really, really well done. That you get a lot of good Drax acting as well.
All right, I'm going to go through just some of my. I mean, obviously, I was taking notes on all of the music scenes because every single one felt like a music video, especially when they go to that initial planet, the corporation's bases and whatnot, and those. You know what I'm saying? When they go to the corporation, the first planet.
Oh, it's like it looks like a butt.
Well, it looked like a meatball.
It looks
Oh,
like
okay,
Rick
okay,
and Morty.
okay.
It looks
Yeah.
literally
Yeah,
like
yeah,
something from
yes.
Rick and Morty. Okay.
I forget what song was playing during that one, but I immediately started thinking this feels like Nickelodeon is trying to do an MTV video. You know, like really kind of crazy, like bright colors and just weird matter around them. And on that, but on the topic of that weird meatball planet, Nathan Fillion. By the way.
Oh,
That cameo was
yeah.
great. Nathan Fillion and all those dudes in that armor looked like they were in armor of Meatball.
He was
it was
so
just
great.
so weird, dude. It was such a that whole scene in Planet was a weird.
He's like, I got a guy too. I love when he's like, I got a.
Yeah, everything he does annoys me. Yo, special. Oh, and then I guess I finally got to see what everyone was all mad about. James Gunn's wife, Jennifer Holland, having. I thought it was just gonna be a cameo, but I was like, oh, she's got a pretty long role, and she gets shot in the knee. Drew, when she got shot in the knee, I don't know if you know this, but you were laughing your fucking ass
so
off.
hard. That
Her
shit
scream was incredible.
fucking
Yeah, that was
hilarious.
loud.
I couldn't figure out why I knew her. Like I was like, why does she look so familiar? She looked like a little Whoville girl.
Yes, yeah, I know what
Cindy
you're
Lou
talking about.
Who. But yo, when they shot her, that was so funny.
Here are the key songs that stuck out to me that I was like, wow, if this was the music video for it, it's they got to release the Guardians of the Galaxy music video for it. I don't think I've ever enjoyed "Dog Days Are Over" by Florence and the Machine more than that fucking moment towards the end.
Yep. That's one of my favorites.
It got Groot and Rocket. It got everyone dancing. So, and I mean, towards as the final song after they had like this long emotional fucking mission, such a perfect send off.
A little history lesson with that song. That song was like made it big in the movie Eat, Pray, Love. And Eat, Pray, Love was a book that was turned into a movie. I saw this movie at a very pivotal moment in my life, so it really like stuck
the
out.
Julia
to me.
Roberts one, right?
The Julia Roberts, where she's supposed to get married, and then she goes off instead and just travels the world and like finds new life, finds new love, all that good stuff. But that song is a very key moment in that movie. So the fact that it played at a very key moment of almost rebirth for a lot of these characters in this movie was very
Dang.
symbolist.
I definitely was getting
symbolism.
Yeah, I was definitely getting emotional, and the fact that we seen it in and not IMAX, Dolby Cinema. That shit was like extra crisp. What else do I got? I loved hearing "This Is the Day" performed by the. That is a song that I was introduced to by a friend working at a warehouse, and it was like one of them really hard warehouse jobs, and we would play that song like on Fridays as like, we're almost there. This is the day that your life will surely change. That song played when Kraglin shows up in the Nowhere, and they were like getting I think either when they were getting the cannon ready. No, it was when they were getting the cannon ready, which is cool as fuck. He's like, cannon 1, 2, or whatever he says, like the cannon keeps extending.
3, 4.
I thought that was dope. And if I'm not mistaken, it also plays when he has his moment of redemption and the whistle is flying, or Rocket comes back. It's one of those where it's like, this is the day that their life has changed. I thought that was awesome. And then last but not least, hearing that song, The Reasons. Yeah, that was really good too. I don't have what scene that correlated with, but it's a great fucking song.
Is the soundtrack already out?
It is absolutely out, and I wasn't gonna buy it like in CD or vinyl, but now I'm kind of thinking about it.
Just download it on Spotify for God's sakes.
All right, last but not least, sorry, I got one more, and because it's at the very top. It's kind of hard to remember the beginnings of movies because it's definitely so long. But that Creep acoustic version, the way that movie opened up with Rocket something about Rocket enjoying the movie or just playing the music was really mesmerizing.
Yes, him singing along and walking around. You're like, oh, okay. He's accepting of our culture. Wow.
Well, technically, he's a North American raccoon,
Yeah,
so it's
for
his
real.
culture. It's his culture too.
Hey guys, when you guys see a trash panda tonight, give him a piece of pizza.
But when you look at the juxtaposition between how that movie started with Creep acoustic version, everyone's just in a rough spot. Like Peter is fucking drunk as hell, and Rocket's having like his moment, to the very end of Dog Days Are Over. Man, that soundtrack was just so pivotal and such good. It was such a good. It was kind of its own character at some point. It was there and you could feel it. All right. Any closing remarks or last scenes? Any scenes we didn't talk about that you guys want to bring up before we start getting this plane landed?
Any annoying parts? Because I have one.
Oh, hit it.
The dog.
Cosmo?
The bad dog.
What didn't you like about Cosmo?
I just thought it was very overly done
Okay.
with the bad dog part. No, there were better dog characters in this movie than the actual dog.
I guess I didn't mind Cosmo, but it did feel like very blatant setup where it's like bad boy. Yeah, you're a bad boy, and I was like, all right, so we're gonna get a scene
Yeah.
where it's gonna be redemption.
She's a good girl. And then
We get it. We
Drew,
get it.
did you have any annoyances or any minor gripes?
I wanted to see Star-Lord's mask one last time. Like I would like to see that whole
yes.
the final of that, and then I just
Been a
want to
minute.
see, and then see Groot. If I can just see Groot inside that like Guardians of the Galaxy costume, I would have been okay with it. But other than that, everything was okay.
Okay, those are super minor gripes. I like it. I really don't think I have much gripes for this movie, other than it's like fucking with my heartstrings. Like, goodness gracious,
It was
man.
a really good balance of weird and emotional ties and funny ties.
Yeah, it's a damn good looking movie, damn feel good movie. Be ready to be in touch with your emotions.
I don't think they're ever going to give the CGI to like the Academy Award to Bradley Cooper for playing this freaking raccoon.
I
need some sort of like award, mocap award. Yeah.
I hope they filmed him while he was acting, like the voice acting.
I wish they did that a lot too. Like I think in the first movie they have that, but I wish there was like a more in depth of like him like getting and saying his lines because I want to see exactly how much he emotes that.
I'm waiting for the official like Disney produced MCU doc. This Vice series is really fucking good, but they don't really have a lot of behind the scenes or input or interviews with like the actors. And I feel like if Disney is smart, they've got that in the works, or they've recorded enough behind the scenes that they can release one. I'm sure in a lot of these Blu-rays and DVDs, they've got the bonus content and all that. But I want to see I wouldn't mind seeing hours of Bradley Cooper voicing
It still
Rocket.
kind of feels like relatively unknown that he's the voice of Rocket.
I want to go back and see what press runs has he done, because I think you see the typical like James Gunn is really heavy on these press runs.
Chris Pratt,
of course. Zoe Saldana. I don't know if I've personally seen a lot of
Yeah, same.
Bradley Cooper. All right, so let's go ahead and land the plane. Let's go ahead and give our final. Let's try to give our final score. Let's try to give our final thoughts, closing remarks. This is the 32nd MCU film, the second movie of Phase 5. Overall, what do you guys think about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3?
I loved it. I think it's the best trilogy out of all the Marvel movies. I think from a creative perspective, there's a lot of drama that's going on with Disney properties right now, where a lot of it looks and feels and sounds the same. And this one was kind of a really good break from that. And I think that a lot of the creative decisions that were made in this movie were because of that. It's almost like separating themselves from the rest of sort of just the monotony, I think, of what's going on with the MCU, with a lot of their Disney Plus shows and movie properties and things like that. But yeah, I thought it was incredible. I thought it was really weird and fun and funny and emotional and really good escapism. And I think that's all you can ask out of a movie. And this really hit it out of the park for all three of those things.
Well said. Drew, what
I
about
also agree with what she
you?
said.
You're like ditto, and ditto.
Ditto.
Drew, where does this rank among your MCU films and movies?
Dude, I don't know. Like that's a very loaded question because the
It
fact
is.
that this
It
is
is.
the 32nd film
Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
of it. So it's like, all right, like as far as like as if we're talking about like this year, I'm definitely putting in the top, and that's the only reason because the Spider-Man movie hasn't come out yet.
Okay.
So that's the only reason why. But like, yeah, this movie did a really good job. It's Volume 3. It told what it needed to tell. It's a nice little handshake. Goodbye. We'll see you later.
Nah, dude, this was more than this was a hug. This was a strong hug.
Damn, it
Goodbye.
was a hug.
All right.
A cosmic.
Is it the best one out of Phase 4 and 5?
We got Spider-Man 3 and we got Black Panther 2.
You don't think that this movie competes or is better than this?
I have to see it at least one more time before I can make all that like the thing. Like this movie was fun and great, but like, yo, Spider-Man was like 30 years in the making.
I don't think you can count Spider-Man.
No.
Because Sony has such a high creative decision making with that.
We are counting it. It's Phase 4.
It was Phase 4,
All right.
Outside of Spider-Man.
and they killed Aunt May.
You have to take away Spider-Man because it is a Sony property.
Let me ask you a question.
it's listed.
Did you guys buy the bucket? If you guys bought the bucket, then you guys really like this movie.
All right, that's my major gripe. This movie is that the special edition popcorn tin was $50 fucking dollars.
$50 fucking dollars.
and
very
they are
powerful.
raking it in on those
Not
popcorn
for Modern
buckets.
Milligan this time. All right, I've bought every single other one for $25.
We saw a dude with two.
Oh, we did?
Two. Remember that guy that was carrying
yeah.
two
I
out of
tried
his
to tell you,
He's definitely
flip
gonna
'em.
flip it. He's gonna flip it. It's just too expensive. Anyways, I'm gonna go on record and saying, by the time I think by the middle of this movie and closer towards the end, I already knew I liked this movie. I was like, unless they completely screw up the landing, this movie is probably the most fun, most enjoyment I've had for just specifically talking about MCU movies since probably Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I had
Same.
one. Like, I don't really have much gripes for this movie.
The dog is my only gripe.
Cosmo was a good
Damn
boy.
dog.
Cosmo was a good boy. I'm going to go ahead and say that. I think this is probably my second favorite one out of the Phase 4 and 5 releases. I think Spider-Man No Way Home, I just can't get past how sentimental Spider-Man is to me. So it's always going to be number one, and it was a great movie. But compared to my former number 2, I think was Wakanda Forever, or actually it was Shang-Chi, I think. They tied. This one probably solidifies number 2 for sure. And I'll go ahead and leave Shang-Chi and Black Panther as a tie. Any differing opinions? Anyone disagree?
I
Are we
think
bringing in the TV show?
Oh my God, I hate when
Yes.
people ask the TV shows.
Dang.
you have
but I
to
mean, you
because
have to.
Marvel intertwines them.
Dang. I'm just trying to stir the pot even more.
What came out for Phase 4 TV shows? Oh, damn.
Moon
That's what's up.
Knight,
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to keep it.
Loki.
I can't answer that right now. I plead the fifth right now. All right, give me some time. I see WandaVision is on here. I see Loki's
I
on
think
here.
the
Moon Knight.
comedy was there with this movie, so that's why.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. I still think Guardians is better. I'm still holding it at number 2,
Yeah.
even with the movie, even with the TV series. If you throw in the TV series, then I would just put Loki at number like 3 or 4. All right, that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Why are you getting so angry right now?
Because you threw me for a loop.
Oh,
You threw in the TV series, you made it more
Are
challenging.
we including the TD adaptation comic book tie-in?
It's silly. All right. I'm going through my notes one last time before we wrap up. I think the only thing I will say is, and maybe this is for our comic book friendly or advocates and listeners, is Drew brought up a book by the name of We Three by Grant Morrison. And that is something that I learned from watching this Vice MCU series, is how much of an inspiration We Three was for James Gunn going into Guardians 1 off the bat. He noted it being a big influence. It was Abnett and Lanning's Guardians of the Galaxy run and We Three. And I remember when watching that episode of the doc thinking, okay, I guess I kind of see the We Three similarities of Rocket being experimented on, but they never really got into it. Boom. This movie is absolutely the We Three comic book series. So just quick little recap. We Three is a phenomenal comic book about animals that were used for testing.
Military
Military grade testing.
weapons.
So they become military grade weapons, part robots, and they go on the loose to earn their own freedom. And it's gorgeously drawn by Frank Quietly. And if you enjoyed this movie and kind of those underlying themes, but you want to see the tables turn, and if you want to see more creatures like Rocket winning back their freedom by being badasses, We Three is the shit.
Yeah, and if you want to cry,
Well said. If you also want to cry about tortured animals, We Three as well.
and that's how we end the show.
This movie had them rescuing kids and animals. I was like, how much more heroic could you be than that?
And
Like,
Misfits, too.
yeah, it's like these guys are fucking heroes, man.
And so what's next as
Oh.
far as MCU?
Ooh. All right, Marvel Phase 5. What
I know Loki, but I don't know if that's like a summertime thing or...
going off the top of my head, I believe it's supposed to be the Marvels.
No, that's November now.
Okay, yeah. There's something in between. I'm looking at it right now. I don't know it off the top of my head now. All right, yeah. The Marvels comes out in November. That'll be the last MCU movie we get this year. And then as far as TV, we get Secret Invasion in June. Loki is I think, scheduled mid 2023, and What If and Ironheart and the others have all become TBD because of the recent Disney layoffs and things. A lot of those Phase 5 TV shows and Disney Plus shows, they got moved back.
too, right?
There's a writer's
Writer's
strike
strike.
as well. Yeah, so
Good for them.
no, for sure, get their money. They're asking for more money out of like these billion-dollar corporations.
Yeah, but they're asking it while ChatGPT is kind of coming out. It's the
I know,
timing.
for real, yeah. We need more there. Like, we have 500 machines that'll do your job.
And we'll see how well that works. It'll be interesting to see nonetheless.
It doesn't have to be good. It just has to
my
exist.
theory is that this is going to lead to a creative revolution where you kind of are hamstringed right now with a lot of these properties. They only invest in things that are nostalgic or part of a larger franchise. I think because of ChatGPT like technologies and AI technologies that we are going to see a creative revolution by the folks that have these ideas. They just didn't have the skill to execute them yet. Not anytime soon, but within the next 5 years.
I'm going to be in the corner screaming about robots' rights. They trying to take our jobs.
Life, that is really well said. And if I was a listener, curious to hear more of your thoughts on AI and in that world, where could I go? This is me signing you off, but also giving you a shameless plug.
Thank you. You can check out all of my social content. I cover a lot of this stuff on a podcast called Everything is Logistics, and you can find all of that at everythingislogistics.com.
And you can find me on my OnlyFans page.
That's funny. All right, listeners, that's what we got for you today. As always, just because the episode ends doesn't mean the conversation has to end. If you guys want to join in and share your opinions, if you want to call us out for something, or if you feel like we missed something so glaring, please feel free to chime in, all right? Write in to the show at theshortboxjacks@gmail.com. I know I have been slacking on the emails, but I'm going to get back to it here soon. Please send us something to read in a future episode. Write us in or shoot us a quick and short DM on Instagram and Twitter. I love when you guys send in compliments like, bro, Blythe killed it. As always, Blythe killed it, Butter. You suck. Drew was pretty cool. All right, send those in. Let me know. Besides that, you guys enjoy your day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Leave a rating and review if you haven't. It would mean the world to us. It's free for you to do, and it's the least you could do, right? We're giving you guys weekly content, great weekly content at that. So leave us some kind words on your favorite podcast app, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever it be. Do that for us. Signing out now. You guys have a great day, and continue to make mine and your short box. Peace.